Hello, everyone. Welcome to the BECU podcast. I'm your host, Jay Chachi, and today I am joined by Liam Bell. He is currently on his internship going into his fourth year of biomedical engineering at Ryerson University. Welcome to the podcast, Liam.
Thank you. How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. How's your day been?
It's been good. Another day of work, during the week, and another day of sitting in an hour of traffic on the way home. It's nice. Get home in the evenings, do stuff like this, fun stuff, sort of unwind for the evening before we're back at it the next day.
So, as I mentioned, a lot of people might be like, "Ooh, internship." So maybe you could talk a little bit about that, because obviously, I can talk about like the little stalking I did on your LinkedIn, but obviously, it's better if it comes from the mouth of the person in the internship.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually have 3 weeks left of my internship, which is actually kind of crazy to think about, because it was a 16 shortened to 14-month because of a little late start because of COVID. And I'm working at a company called Biomedical. And basically what the company does, it's a intravascular imaging system, sort of for your coronary artery. So it's like a catheter that goes into your heart, and it's able to acquire OCT, which is like light, and IBIS, ultrasound image, at the same time. So the physicians use that, and they think it's pretty cool. I'm working in production as a manufacturing engineer right now. So I get to see the devices built from the start right to the finish. If any sort of issues during the assembly process arise, our responsibility is to investigate those, get down to a root cause, and sort of keep our units efficiently being produced and continuously get them to the testing phase where we can start shipping them out to the hospitals. So we're just making sure everything goes smoothly. It's very hands-on. I do a lot of working with the units, learn how they work, learn how to fix them. If we're having like high current issues, like what parts of the device attribute to high current, and you sort of like learn that throughout your months. And when you're there for like over a year, you get pretty well into it. So I'm enjoying it. It was super involved. But yeah, as I said before, it's crazy to think it's over. Right back to school.
I was just about to ask, like, are you gonna do like another like follow up or like another internship, or are you just gonna go like straight back into school?
Yeah, I'm just gonna. So I was doing it through the co-op program at Ryerson. Technically you only need to do 12 months and then you get the credit. But I stayed all the way to the end of my contract in August, and I'll be going right back into school in September. It's going to be a different feeling, not actually having your evenings and weekends to chill, I guess. Be back to doing like the lab report on like a Saturday or something, which it's been a while since I've done that. But part of me is kind of like, I'm down to get back into the school groove, because the work momentum is great, but it's stressful at times. It's a different type of stress that you don't feel at school when you're sort of working a job like that. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting transition.
One thing about school is I know that we learn everything like a course at a time, right? By your internship, you mentioned you're like there from like everything from manufacturing to testing to even like the business aspect of it. Like, do you feel like that's better fit for your like type of learning, or?
Yeah, it's I don't know if the answer is yes, but it kind of has to be as well. At the same time, it's a different pace of learning. Like it's a little bit more fast paced. I'm learning something new every day, because like no day at work is the same. A little different. Like sometimes you're working on more of like the quality engineering side, which I actually didn't even know quality engineering existed until I started working. And it's like a huge sort of core to especially medical device development. So some days you're working and learning about the quality regulations. Other days you're doing like just straight engineering and business side of things, like you asked. It's a different pace. It's faster, but the works community there is very supportive. They help you learn. If you got questions, you always ask questions, and that's sort of how you build off of your full-time employees as well as your other intern peers, and sort of just progress in the learning as you go through the months.
Oh, it's good advice. Like, I'm glad that I have somebody who's basically just been through. I won't say the ringer, because you obviously you sound like you really enjoyed it, which I'm glad you did.
Yeah,
but it's good
fun,
having like that perspective of somebody who's been through like such a diverse internship, even though it was just one internship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, do you even like? Okay, I can't. Obviously, if your employer, I'm assuming your employer won't watch this, but do you think like you'd want to return to that kind of environment, or?
Yeah, I'll definitely look at it like after my fourth year. I'm maybe thinking about doing a master's with some like a part-time master's with full-time work. There's some full-timers working there that are currently doing like an MEng part-time, and they're also working full-time, and they were previous interns. So it's like, that piques my interest a little bit. The company is pretty new. Like, it's considered a startup until like 2000 and like, I don't even know, like, I don't want to give a date. I'm not too sure, like 13 or 15. Like, we're pretty new. So with that being said, like, the direction of the company is always changing as well, and sort of what they're trying to do to stay on top of the market. So I know it's only like a year from now, but you can do a lot in a year. So I'll see what job postings there are, see what direction they're headed in, and if it sort of fits my direction, I'm totally down. Like, I really enjoyed the culture there.
Well, they better be paying you because you've been talking to them up real good. So I'm glad that you found like a really good experience with them. But when it comes to actually the way beginning, how was the actual co-op search? Because I know a lot of people get like it's a very daunting experience going from second to third and being like, oh, co-op portal, co-op applications. Do I focus on getting a co-op? Like, oh my God, like some people get it in October, some people get it in April. How was it for you? Like the actual experience of applying?
Yeah, if I think back and remember that process, like right at sometime in the fall, they sort of like, it's coming. But it's sometime in the fall that the co-op department sort of approaches everyone. And if you have that, whatever the CGPA cutoff is, they're like, you're eligible to apply to the portal. So I think that sort of happens later in the fall. You get access to the portal, you do all their workshops and stuff. And then the jobs postings sort of start coming up. Being in biomed, like, you're not going to see a huge whole list of positions. It's going to be pretty limited. Compared to like if you're talking to your buddies in like mech or something where they just have like lots of listings, but that's just because different industries. It's a much more focused industry, but there is some there. And as you sort of get into like November, and I remember in December as well, like early December, like I started really. It's tough for you to start balancing your school, your studying, and then you also got to write a cover letter, update your resume for like each position. And I think I applied to Canavi like sometime like either just before the winter break or like right at the start of winter break, and got emailed back for an interview. I want to say like mid-January, and like January 31st was my interview. It was in person at Ryerson. So it sort of all happens within that like winter phase. And then I think I got the offer sometime in February or March. A lot of people got offers before me, and you're always thinking like, oh shit, maybe I'm not going to get anything. But I got somewhere around the middle, and there's a lot of people that get offers after that as well. Like your offer can come all the way up until like you start like in May. They could hit you up in like April and be like,
hey, you want to come
let's
over?
Go, let's
work?
start.
Yeah.
So like anything's possible there. But that's sort of how my process went and how the co-op process goes. Portal wise through Ryerson. You can also go external and sort of follow the same timeline. But yeah.
When you were looking at the portal, I know one thing is like, this is gonna be like controversial. Hopefully, I hope it's controversial because it creates a discussion. But one thing is, I know a lot of people when that portal like opened up, they'd be like, "This is why you should have switched into comp. This is why you should have switched into ELE. There's more options. Like all that kind of like mech is better, civil's better. Why are you in BME? It's so new." Did you have like those pressures while going through first, second, and third year? And if you did, what made you decide to stay in biomed?
Yeah, like of course, that pressure is always there, and you see your comp friends and your mech friends, and they got like 40 job postings like to look at or whatever, and you're staring at like 5. And you're like, yeah, I guess you think you're like, oh, why did I choose this? But like, at the end of the day, it's not about options. It's about like what you enjoy doing and why you chose biomedical engineering. It's like, if I wanted to go into comp, I would have gone into comp. You don't need to tell me now because of the limited options. There's 5 options there, and I enjoy all 5 of those options. And, I'm going to try and pursue those to the best of all of our abilities. And like why I chose the biomedical engineering path is like, I guess in high school, I did the maths and the science. So this is in grade 12. Because I really just didn't know what I wanted to do at all. But I knew I wanted to do some sort of like problem solving, like innovating or whatever. And that's sort of the engineering realm. And sort of biomed sparks where it's like, well, I don't want to lose the science aspects of things. Cause like, I liked a little bit of the bio and stuff. So I didn't want to go like super hardcore, like civil engineering. Not that civil doesn't have bio. I know they have some like environmental engineering. Yeah. I think that's part of it. But yeah, no, I wanted to keep like the science aspects of things as well as the math aspects of things, and I kind of just like found biomedical engineering. It's like, oh, this looks cool. You can build like medical devices for people in hospitals. It's pretty interesting. Like I also like the idea of like improving quality of life for people and like you're doing something good with what you're building. So that's sort of what strayed me into that. And then when I see 5 postings, it's like it still doesn't change my mind at all of why I'm here. If that changes your mind to the point where you're like, I should have switched, then you probably shouldn't have been in Biomed in the first place. Maybe that's a little harsh.
No, it's not harsh. I think that's like the reality a lot of people need to face, right? Like, is this really what you want to be doing? Obviously, you're a very clear example of this is what you want to be doing. I love interviewing people in the BME community because I love learning about what you guys are doing, what you are expanding, how the industry is evolving. But there are going to be people who are going to watch this and be like, you know what, Liam's right. I can't. This is not something that I'm genuinely thinking back on it. This is not something I want to do. But no, it's good. It's good advice. It's good. It's honestly the truth, right? You can't force yourself into doing something you don't want to do.
Yeah.
So you talked about innovation, and you did innovate. I'm actually going to get to that later, just because I know there's a lot I actually want to hear about it, but I'm not going to drop the name of what it is that I'm mentioning. But before that, I actually want to talk about Tetra. So you were active on campus a lot. You were pretty active on campus before you went on to your internship, and then you were talking about how you were applying for co-ops and stuff. Was that while you were in Tetra? And then speaking of Tetra, could you maybe talk about what Tetra is and what positions you held in Tetra? Because I know you've held 2 positions as an engineer and as a president.
Yeah.
Yep.
I started in Tetra actually. I found out about Tetra in my first year of Ryerson. I was doing the tri-mentoring program where you get paired with like an upper year student. And actually, you guys probably know Jeanette. It was Jeanette. I think she did work for BECU, right?
Yeah,
and she sort of
I had a very extensive conversation with Jeanette pretty recently. But yeah.
There you go. Well, regardless of if that went good or bad, that was the person who introduced me to Tetra, right? And she's like, oh, because she was on Tetra, and then I got into my first year and I enjoyed it in the second year and onward, right? And basically, I guess what Tetra is, to quickly explain, like we're just a student chapter underneath the North American Society of Tetra that creates assistive devices for people with like various disabilities. So like our goal is to just make a more accessible community, a more inclusive environment, regardless of how differently abled you are. So I started off on the design team, because something unique about Tetra is we offer students that hands-on learning. We actually connect with a client in the medical industry and they're like, oh, we need this. Like, for example, the first project I did was with Dr. Nolan. He was doing some research at Ryerson, and he had some clients that were sort of like paralyzed to the wheelchair, and all they had was head movement, and they also like had a speech impediment. So it's like, how can we get these people to effectively communicate? He was working on sort of a Bluetooth communicator and then we sort of made the device that sort of attached to their wheelchair. It went around their head, and it was 4 buttons, and you'd be able to sort of like click different buttons and like spell sentences on the tablet in front of them. So he sort of worked on the software end and we worked more on the hardware end. That was like my design project in Tetra. And then I was like, oh, I really enjoy this. And then I got on the exec team. And then third year, like going into my internship, is when I sort of eventually moved my way up to co-president of the group, which I'll also be continuing this year. And we do a lot of things. We got our annual conference. Again, lots of more design projects. This year, we're currently doing accessible robotics kit. So we connected with an organization from OCAD who works with elementary and high school students in the GTA. Those of which that maybe have like fine motor skills or just, cognitive disabilities. So they're unable to code or just, build the really intricate parts of robots. So we're basically building a kit with like easily assembled and then connecting it to an accessible coding environment where it's just like big arrows. So they can like code the robot to do whatever they want. And the idea was also behind it, one team's doing a theater bot. And it's kind of just like for students that aren't able to do like these sort of actions like in real life, like maybe if they're in a wheelchair, they can't really stand up and act. They can code the robot to be the actor for them, which is pretty cool. So that's what Tetra does. And we'll have more projects coming out in September.
Dude,
workshops and stuff like that.
You're really selling
fun.
Tetra here. Like, damn. Like,
I
the reason I can't stop smiling
Isn't that
is
my
because
job?
no, the work that you're putting in, the stuff that you said that you've done is actually really, really cool. Like,
yeah, that was like my main commitment throughout.
So, Tetra's open to any BME students or any students, right?
Any engineering.
Engineering
we love
students,
like different types. We need all types of engineers to collaborate on our projects. So yeah.
So yeah, if you're coming into engineering, or even if you can be in any year, right?
Any year.
Any year.
We
If
love
you're
first
interested
years,
in
second years, early on,
anybody, if you're
fourth
interested in
years. Yeah, come
Tetra,
on.
Liam's your guy. He's basically advertised it exactly what it is. They love helping others, quality of life for others, as well as they have a lot of projects coming up. So if you're interested in that, definitely keep your eyes open. I believe Tetra has like an Instagram page, right? Tetra Ryerson.
We do, yeah.
Yep. So make sure you check that out. I know Liam, you look very, you look the smile that you had while going through everything.
It
Just
sounded
like
like a commercial at
no,
one point.
honestly,
I had to stop
it
talking.
wasn't even a commercial. It's just you're going over the truth of the matter. The fact is that Tetra's sick. Like I know when I talked to Jeanette, she said Tetra was doing a lot of really good work,
Yeah.
and like seeing as you were talking about it as not only it wasn't even a biased opinion. You're just going over the facts of what you guys do, and it sounds amazing.
Maybe a little
I
biased.
want to join Tetra now. Like Yusuf's gonna get so mad at me. Yusuf, I guess I gotta quit, man.
Yeah.
But no, I know what you mean. But other than just like getting people on, do you feel like it's important? Like obviously it is important to join clubs, but why do you think it's like good for people in our community, in the BME community, to get involved in things like Tetra or BMES or BQ or any other like biomedical engineering society?
Yeah, there's so many clubs that you can get involved in as a biomedical student. I don't know. I found it important in many ways. Like you're networking with a bunch of people. You're making like a bunch of friends within your sort of discipline. You're working on technical skills if that's what your group you're working on, or soft skills if you got to like present and communicate and plan or organize, like all that stuff you're doing. So you're really sort of enhancing that for yourself, and also just in general, like the super outside of the classroom experience that everyone always talks about. It's like you can get that hands-on experience through so many different clubs in BME, and it also even it helps you with your career sometimes too. Because sometimes we go in and we don't really know what we want to do, and you sort of see these clubs out there and sort of what partnerships they're working with and what other community members they're working with, and it's like, oh, these are real industry people that maybe I can work towards something one day. So it's really about just expanding your horizon and just a lot of good things like the ones I mentioned. I think those are pretty good points to think about when going into student groups.
Yeah, like for your actual internship, like I'm pretty sure there was like some transferable skills from Tetra to your actual internship, right?
Yeah, like technical skills, probably not, but you won't really have any technical
Obviously,
transferability because everything's different in the company. But if we're talking soft skills, like for sure, like your communication skills, your presenting skills, just simple like planning and organizing, like things like that where you don't think will have that big of an impact. They go like a long way, depending on what sort of setting you're in.
That's good to hear. Like I'm glad that I have a very experienced person in front of me who can like just outline everything. So thank you for that. But moving forward, one thing I do want to talk about, I actually have it pulled up onto my side like screen as well, is something that you founded. You're a co-founder. So like you are one of the most accomplished people I'm speaking to so far. Of my no offense to anybody else I've talked to, obviously, but you are actually the co-founder of Glucose Vision. Now, obviously, I could be the dude who just like reads the description, but why would I do that when I have the co-founder right in front of me, and I'm pretty sure you'd love to talk about it, right? So
Yeah, I'd love to. I'll try
yeah.
not to talk too much.
No,
about
no,
it,
you can
but-
go ahead. Like I honestly am interested, and I'm sure a lot of BME people, or even people in other programs, would love to just hear about the work that a student at Ryerson University is doing and how it's applicable in the future and then what you're trying to aim for. So just go on. Like I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, sure. So I can start from the beginning. I was at the Frontier of Healthcare conference, which was in 2019, July. It was hosted by Ryerson, St. Michael's Hospital. They had a case competition there, and they're like, "Oh, if you could build like I can't remember what the topic was. I think it was like any sort of like self-triage device for a disease of your choice." And myself and I went with my two other co-founders who I went to high school with. We all live here in Saga, and we all went to this conference. We're all different disciplines in engineering, and basically we just chose the disease of diabetes just because of a lot of like friends and family connections, and it's like just a big industry in the healthcare field right now. And we're just sort of thinking about how can you self-monitor that, and we're always thinking. I have a buddy, his name's Steven. I was actually out with him at the bar the other night, and he has type 1 diabetes, and he ordered his food, and he's had it for a while, so he's pretty experienced. So he pulls out his insulin pump on the side of him, and he like types in like 50 carbs, right? Like just assuming there's 50 carbs in his meal, because every diabetic has a insulin to carb ratio. So let's say if it's 1 to 10, so for every 10 carbs, you need one insulin unit. So in that case, if you put in 50, you would take 5 insulin units. And I was like, oh wow, like that's a pretty crazy process. So basically, the idea we pitched is a smartphone application where diabetes patients are able to take a photo of their meal and get an on-the-spot sort of return of like what their carb count is, and that will then tell them how much insulin to put. Because when we're talking to a bunch of doctors and stuff, especially for early diabetes patients, there's gonna be like a 50 to 60% like error margin on manual carb counting. So it's like, why would you? We could completely remove that pain. And when you're not like, putting the right amount of insulin in your body, you get like high blood sugar, low blood sugar, and you want to spend as much time in range as you can. But anyway, that's the idea that we pitched at the Frontier, and we won first place there, which got us incubated into the iBoost zone, which is now the Innovation Boost zone, which is one of like I don't know how many zones are on campus, but it's like that entrepreneurship zone there. And so we started working with them. They connect us with a bunch of mentors. We started developing the idea, and we went through the ESH Awards as well. If you guys are familiar with that, they have stage 1 to 3. So throughout those 2 years, we're able to win stage 1, 2, and 3. And now we're working on more of sort of the R&D side of things, like really sort of trying to develop an algorithm that's able to, recognize the food, output a carb count of their meal, develop the front end application. We got a website up as well. It's just a super simple launch page right now, but we're working on co-zoning with the Biomedical zone. Hopefully we're doing a sort of a MyTax and SOSIP program right now. SOSIP's like an advanced computing platform out of U of T. MyTax is a match funding program for startups. We're also working with Professor at Ryerson that's able to help us with our R&D work and give us some funding and try to raise as much capital as we can as sort of we go through that journey. Like as an engineer, I learned zero business in my courses, and now being connected with these mentors and inside of these zones, it's we're really learning the business side of things, of how to start your own company, and then we bring the technological side. I'm also learning all of this. Like I didn't know how to code image recognition in third year even. So now it's just like a lot of learning.
So was it like self-learning, or was it like?
It is self-learning still. Like we have the professor that we're working with, to bounce questions off and stuff. But it's self-learning essentially, right? In the evenings, we're just grinding out on the computers. Like, okay, let's work on hamburgers today, and let's try and get a clean output of a hamburger, and and just grow from there. Eventually to the point where any person with diabetes is able to pull up their phone, take a photo, and be like, oh, 20 carbs in my meal, boom, put it in. Completely removes the need for manual and that huge learning curve in like the first year when you do have diabetes.
Has there been like any like foods or anything that like caused like a genuine like major issue in your like testing, or was everything just been like kind of difficult or like kind of easy to like work towards?
It's we're super early in testing, so we're focusing more on the easily sort of recognized foods. There's a lot of food databases out on the web. So like, pizzas, like fish and chips or whatever, like dishes like that. And there's other dishes that will become more complicated down the road, like soup, and stuff like that. You don't know what the ingredients are dissolved in there. You can't see that from a photo. So we're going to be developing sort of different techniques to be able to compensate for those meals that aren't as easily recognizable by the camera.
And you did talk a bit about like Ryerson and the part that they've played in it, but do you feel like the school's been really like supportive of like the journey you guys are going through, or?
Yeah, I think it has. Like I know iBoost or Innovation Boost Zone. Gotta get used to the new name. I work at a Ryerson, right, and they've been helpful with all the mentors and really getting us through the ESH Awards. All our funding has come from Ryerson so far that we've raised from the 3 stages. So I guess you could say that's pretty helpful. And just sort of all the connections, like one thing builds to another. Ryerson's like sort of like our home hub foundation, and there's a lot of resources in there that we can use, and those resources lead to other resources, and it's like a stepping stone to expansion. So to answer your question in short, yeah, I would say it's been a really contributing factor. I know they really foster like entrepreneurship and stuff like that in students, so it's been good, the stuff they have laid out for us.
Well, the entrepreneurship only exists because there's students like you are actually like getting very interested and involved in things like this. So like applause to you, but damn, like you're putting
Appreciate
in
it.
the work. Like this is cool. So do you feel like I know this is like kinda unrelated, but do you feel like the things that you've learned at your internship are helping you with what you're doing with glucose vision or
No,
no?
I
Okay.
like we're so like the internship they work more on like imaging technology, image guided through the body, working a little bit more on like software based solutions. It's all the same sort of. You like all of it because it's all
Mhm.
in medical, but they are a little bit different in that sort of sense.
That's good. That's good to hear. And another thing I just kind of wanted to talk about was the innovation nights. I know that you participated in a biomedical innovation night. I believe it was a
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
event. Yeah, so maybe you could talk about that because I know a lot of people they can't commit to actual clubs, right? But or like to projects or like pursue these long things, but they can come to these like innovation nights or meetups. So how would you say your experiences at these events were?
Those were like the biomedical innovation night.
Hmm.
Yeah, those I'll be directing that event this year,
Okay, Liam,
starting.
why are you doing everything, dude? Like,
That's not too many. I think it's like a fair plate right now.
fair play.
I've definitely capped. I've definitely capped.
Okay.
Like not like cap. I think.
Yeah, yeah,
The
I know what you
cap. Yeah, no, I think I'm definitely now sort of have that sort of like balance where and I'm trying to balance those sort of things and as well as my schooling to the point where I don't really think I can take anything more on. But yeah, no, biomedical innovation night is it's great. Like I started as an attendee and now I moved on to the team. It's like the sort of the team runs from like now until like February. So it's like a little bit of a shorter period just to pre-event and then actual event. And then to attend the event, I think it's great. Like I went in my first year. It's just a great way to connect students and industry. You learn a little bit about like overseas sort of medical device development. We focus on Israel because they have one of the richest startup medical sort of infrastructures there, and we really try to showcase how Toronto can become one of those leaders in medical device innovation. We bring a bunch of representatives from research groups, from industry, from different companies to come speak with you. We have keynotes, panel, and it's just like literally a whole night about medical stuff. And it's really great. And it's a one night event. We do like a career and co-op workshop beforehand to get your confidence up when you're doing those one-on-one. We have networking rotation tables as well. Get your confidence up there, and that's sort of then your time to really showcase yourself. And we've had students land internships from that event from speaking because there is active recruiters that come to the events from different research groups or companies that are really down to take on students for that summer. So I think it's an awesome event to really get involved in.
So fingers crossed it's in person this year. Hopefully.
Yeah,
If
that's
not,
tough
then
planning.
it
I
is.
think I don't know. It's August. I don't know how much I can say right now, but I'm probably myself and the team are going to focus on some sort of hybrid if we
Nah,
can.
I know what you mean. I would have loved to have these podcasts in person, meet my
Yeah,
interviews, but
a
it is
round
what it
table.
is. You just gotta do what you gotta do. But hopefully
Yeah.
it is in person. Fingers crossed. I would love to see if I wish I would love to attend, but when I do, I hope to see maybe a glucose vision presentation. I feel like you guys
I thought about it. I
you
thought about it.
represent. You know how you said you wanted Toronto to be like one of these hubs of like
Yeah,
you could start it. You could be like
yeah.
one of the first keynotes. I'm saying it. You're doing a lot. You're really like I'm at a loss for words every single time you speak just because you bring out so much. You're just casually dropping like all this stuff you're doing and I'm just like, "Oh, I'm doing like one club." But it is
No,
what
that's
it is.
good. That's good, man. That's good still. Like every little bit counts as long as
Mhm.
you're enjoying it, right?
So, moving on from your club speak, you are always, regardless of what's happening, you are a student, and school is starting very soon. Are you looking forward to your fourth year, the capstone, things like that, or do you think you mentioned that the transition is going to be a bit weird just because you've been working for the longer term? But are you
Yeah.
looking forward to your fourth year, or
Yeah, I mean, so my initial mindset was like, oh, I'm looking forward to get back on campus and the downtown lifestyle because I miss that. And obviously, we're not getting that in the fall, to my surprise. But course wise, I think the courses are looking right. Yeah, I'm not gonna say I'm excited for it, but I'm definitely not looking forward to it. Get back to the groove, learn a little more, see my peers again, and the capstone. Yeah, that's a huge thing in fourth year, right? I was at the capstone presentation, the virtual one, just this past whenever it was, for the past graduates. It was pretty cool. There was a lot of cool things going on, so I'm excited. I think in the first week we get to hear sort of what projects we can potentially work on, and that's gonna be fun. And I hopefully think we can be able to actually like build it in the winter and like showcase it to everyone. There's a lot of really cool projects. I'm actually really looking forward to the capstone. It's going to be a lot of work and a lot of learning, but it's definitely that one thing that sort of takes you outside of that super hardcore academic environment and be able to actually apply something from what you're learning.
Yeah, for some people it's gonna be like their first ever like BME project, like their first
Yeah, like huge
experience.
design project. Yeah.
Not
It's
even
crazy.
huge, just in general. It's gonna be like their first thing,
Yeah.
especially because everything's
Yeah.
been online. But no, I'm
Yeah,
glad
yeah,
to
that's
hear
right.
that you have that really positive outlook on it. And so now I would like to do some quick rapid fire questions with you. So one
Okay.
thing is, every like person, they have like a course they didn't really particularly like from each year. So
Mhm.
from like obviously one of the popular answers, like Yusuf, cut this if like this is too controversial, but a lot of people didn't like CEN in first year just because they were like, why am I here? But then when you look back on it, you're like, I did need those kind of like small like tidbits of information about what it is to be an engineer. So like for you, what did you say? What would you say were like the difficult or like kind of like, they weren't challenging, but there were courses that made you kind of question like, some people, like for me, I thought I was smart, but then I started taking some of these courses and I'm like, I am not smart in like any bit or any way. So like
Yeah,
what were
yeah,
some of these
same.
courses that kind of were hard for you or like were difficult to understand, or things that took you more time to understand than you would have thought would have taken you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a handful of those. And mind you, I'm still looking back on
Mhm.
CN and saying like, what? Like, I'm still confused. But aside from that course, I guess you're right. There was a few little things there, here and there. Those are the eye clickers too. I remember those
Oh
things.
yes, the things that we
Um,
bought and never used again.
I still got mine, man. If the
Me
person wants
too.
to buy that off of me or something, they can't even because it's online. But we'll find out. But yeah, the course is like okay, like so going into first year. Um, I always thought I understood calculus, but then I started doing the courses and I was like, holy shit, I'm terrible at this. But like, I started putting in more work and doing a little bit better after doing extremely poorly on Calc 1 and 2 exams and stuff. And Calc 3, I pulled it together. That was something that kind of surprised me because I was like, yo, I just was in lecture going through all the problems. I'm like, yo, I know this. And then I go to the exam and this is like 4 questions. Like, I don't know this. Or like, and there's the ones where it's like, I answer the full question and then you just see a 0 at the top and you'd be like, yo, could I at least give me something
Part
for that?
marks, yeah, please, part marks. But
I guess I was just on the wrong thought process. So I found those ones tough for me for some reason. I don't know why. Another first year one was physics. I am okay at physics. I just think those exams are just completely designed against you.
yeah,
But maybe that's just me.
no,
Those
I know what you
multiple
mean. They
choice
are
ones.
like that, and then at the very end, you like pray for like a curve or like a boost or like a
Yeah.
remark or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the only course I had to do a makeup exam in because I didn't get the theory portion of it because of my midterm. And I was like, damn. So I had to do the makeup. And anyways, we got past that. Course that I just didn't like, maybe because I didn't understand too much, was digital systems. I still don't completely understand it. That was the only exam where I asked to go to the washroom when I just didn't have to go to the washroom. I was like, yo, I need to go walk around for a little bit. I can't answer like 6 of these pages. So that was tough for me.
The
Just because I
fact
didn't
that there was
understand
6
it.
pages in the first place is already like daunting, but
I know. And the last one, which I really enjoyed the course, but I did find it a little hard, was instrumentation, bioinstrumentation in third year. It was a little tough for me, but it's a really interesting course, and by no means did I not enjoy it. It was just it was tough to learn.
and during all of this, did you like take advantage of things like the study halls or peer tutoring or anything like that, or was it just purely self-study and just working on homework and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I took advantage of that stuff. Went to those where they do like those tutorials or like those focus tutorial groups on like one of the SLC floors for some courses. I did those, but for the most part, I was more of an individual studier, as well as like a group studier when I'm ready. then I can go study in a group. If I'm not ready yet for the exam, I cannot study in the group. But yeah, I took a couple advantages of those tutorials, but not as much maybe as I should have. But yeah.
And when you were studying on campus, what was your favorite spot? Like, I know a lot of people say I like those library study rooms. Some of them like the SLC. Some people just find like a random corner in Kerr Hall. But what was like your like sanctuary for studying at the campus?
Yeah, the go-to is there's always tables is the pod on second floor. Like just when you pass the library going into Kerr Hall, you make a cut sharp left, and like right sort of back there, right above the service hub on the second floor. That's like the go-to. There's always tables there. It's loud and noisy, but sometimes I study better in those environments because I just know there's people around me and I'm not just like, in my house on an online environment, which is going to be tough this year. But if it's grind time, I'd probably head up to like the 8th floor of the library, just take a cubicle, put some nice classical music on or something nice and peaceful, and just do my calc. Maybe that didn't work
First
as
few
we
years.
heard, but
No, that was me in linear
Yeah.
algebra. Linear algebra
Yeah.
completely like destroyed my like hope in engineering, and that was first semester, first year. So
no, man.
I lost
those-
all
those-
hope right then and there. But I'm here now,
Yeah.
and I'm glad I am, and I'm glad to see you in a really good position. You're setting yourself up for success, and I'm really glad you are. So moving forward, what was like what? Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a really funny question at the end, but before that, maybe
Okay.
ask you a bit more of a nice one. So what was like your most fond memory, or the fondest memory you've had so far at Ryerson?
Oh wow, it's a tough one. Like I don't know.
It could be many. You can list off as many as you want. I'd love to hear about it, especially considering, like, at least from my perspective, your entire career so far has been pretty nice. But
I guess more about fun stuff,
Mhm.
like taking advantage of the campus environment. One thing I always liked about Ryerson is like I'm really big skateboarder, so like every day that I can get out there, I go skate, and I really liked those times where I could just go like after like an engineering lecture, or like if I had like an 8 to like 5 day of pretty much just lectures, being able to just sort of like go out to the pond and just like skate after class and just like chill for the evening. Those were like really good memories, and like hopefully more to come. That was one of my favorite things about the Ryerson atmosphere there, personally for myself. Team wise, like that first year project with Tetra, like when we got invited to showcase it in the collaboratory at Ryerson, to the president came, President Ryerson. It was my first time seeing him, and I was like, oh wow, this is huge. And that was really nice. The team, we had the 5 of us, presented it to him, and he sat down and he tried our device, like clicked the buttons and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is sick. I was like spring of first year. Yeah, I'd probably have to think about a little bit more to say some other ones, but
No,
I say
yeah,
those
too.
are like 2 memories, like lifestyle and academic,
Okay,
like really
so
good ones.
I'm hoping the next question helps you like think of some ideas, because I'm about to ask you. So what would you say in the last like 16 years of school, from like maybe elementary to
So, like
now?
everything. Oh,
Yeah, basically everything.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most embarrassing moment? Like something that, like a horror story, or like a very embarrassing moment. And you can say as much as you want, because I remember when I interviewed Jeanette, she said like 7 different things that went wrong in school. So it's up to you. You can tell me as many as you want, that you're open to sharing, of course.
Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna have to like jog memory for that one. There's some like silly ones, I guess.
That's fine. I'd love to hear some
But
silly
it's
stories.
just like what are you doing? Like, if we're like going back to like elementary school, I think. I don't know. I think it was probably like grade 4, and the only reason I remember this is I'll tell you after. But it's nothing cool. It's just like, it was like everybody like in grade 5, whatever the hell you do in grade 5. We'd have this huge like dirt mud path, in the middle of our schoolyard, and I think we were all playing soccer or something that time, and then just like I slipped and like fell face first into the mud, like absolutely covered like head to toe in mud. And then I went to stand up, and I was like completely stuck. Like I could not move. Like my little muscles at that time could not get me out of the mud, and I was just stuck. I was just standing there, and everyone was like, "Yo, are you gonna come play?" I'm like,
Oh,
"I
your
cannot move."
feet. Your feet were stuck.
Like, yeah, I got up, collected myself.
Oh, but you
my
were like
feet were
suctioned
stuck.
to
I
the
was
ground.
still suctioned like into this like little tiny whatever mud path, and like my friends, like the other little grade fives, were trying to pull me out, and they couldn't. Right, we're all like tiny, like during that time.
Oh, frick.
So we had to call out a couple teachers to come help, and also one of my buddies, who I used to be my neighbors. He was in grade. He was older, like just a giant grade 6 dude, and him and a couple teachers, so like 4 of them, like literally just like pulling me out, and like my shoes were stuck, but I came out, right? My feet came out, and my shoes were still there, and then they had to go in and like yank out my shoes and stuff, and then I had to go to the janitor's room and like shower basically in their like janitor hose just to clean myself. And anyways, the only reason why like I just remember that random moment is because in grade 9 I moved just sort of up the road to a new house, moved in or whatever, and then my neighbor was one of the teachers that were helping me, and one of the first things she said when she saw me come out of my driveway, she's like, "Oh, Liam," it's like, "You moved in." He's like, "Do you remember when I had to like yank you out of the whatever in elementary school?" And she starts just like talking about all these like whack elementary school memories that she remembers when I was a kid, and I was like, "Yeah, I remember them now." After you just like told me all of them. That was a funny one. And she still lives here. She's really nice teacher. One of my favorite elementary school teachers, actually. Man, I can't.
Do you have any commuter stories? I know you said that you're in Mississauga, so I'm assuming you did commute to campus every day, or were you?
I lived like, so during school I lived with my grandpa at Untitled Chapter, so I can just take the subway down every morning instead of like the go train.
Well, the TTC is definitely a lot more sketchy than the GO train.
It's entertaining, man. It's like, and when I was just starting to take the TTC in like first year or something, I was like still like shook on how to keep my balance and stuff. It was like this one time I'm going to sit down, and the thing stops, and I just like sprawl over like 2 people, like just completely like lay down on them, and they're like, "Yo," and I'm like, "Yo, I'm so sorry," and like they're just all laughing and like help me out, and I just sit down in my seat. That's when I was just learning how to like properly keep my balance on the TTC without like falling and stuff on people. But there's always something going on in the TTC. Like in the mornings, I usually like to get on at like 8. I'd like to try and sleep if I can find a seat. But there's always something going on that'll keep you up. And even on the commute home, man, I hated those commutes home when it's just like lineups like at a Dundas station.
Yeah, from like 3 to like 5:30, it's like impossible to go home. Yeah,
it gets bad. But yeah, that didn't really answer the question. But
no, it's cool. We're just going back.
I'm trying to think of something, but like I can't.
How about on campus? So I know a lot of people have like signature things that help them explain how campus is. Like for me, campus isn't campus. Like Rye is not Rye without that dude in the Spider-Man costume hanging off like that light pole in front of the station. So for you, what's something that like made you be like, "Hey, I'm at Rye"? Like what's something that's signature to you? Like it felt like it was like a hallmark of going to campus.
Yeah, I mean, every time I'd pull up, there'd always be, as soon as you start seeing skaters everywhere, like all over the street and all over the pond, you'd be like, "Hey, I'm at campus now." As for people, I don't know. You have your regular. It's bad to say, you have your regular homeless dudes there that are the nice guys.
Yeah, the guy in front of Tim Hortons, he always opens the door, gives you a thank you. Yeah,
they're always posted up there, and it's like, all right, I feel like I'm a little bit at home here. They obviously don't know me, but I know them because I see them all the time, and they see thousands of people all the time. That's another like quick telltale that I'm on campus. The clock bell. People don't think about it, but you always hear the Kerr Hall bells going off, and it's like that's campus as well. Yeah, that's mainly it. I'd say like say those 3 things. Sort of you're in your atmosphere now. It's a little different now. I went there to campus like a month ago. I can't skate on the streets
right?
no more. Yeah, they have the stones there.
They have like the little rock. Yeah, I saw them before. Yep.
It looks nice. It's like it gives it a campus feel now. But it's like now
but it takes away from what a part of what made it the Rye campus, which were like the people on bikes and skating and like skateboarding. Yeah.
Yeah, we had that like little ledge on the street like just out front of the parking garage, like campus store. But you like do like a little slappy up on the curb. Like it was like the best thing to skate on campus. And that was fun, and that's completely gone now.
Well, at least Gold Street's open now, so
Yeah.
hopefully there is more place you can, and no cars are allowed on it. So you do
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
it's a lot safer to skateboard on it. So I hope you
I
have
still
fun.
gotta
when you
watch
change.
out for all the pedestrians. So.
But yeah, so in our closing remarks, it was amazing having you here. But I do know that as somebody who is as experienced as you are, you probably have tons of advice. But if you could narrow it down to one piece of advice for people moving on to any part of their biomedical engineering career, what would it be? And you can obviously say more, but what do you think is like a key piece of advice that maybe some mentor said to you or something that you just apply to your own life? And you can just go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Like I like the advice that people have said to me, and I try to like abide by is like if you're in biomedical engineering, like really think about what your career sort of is going to impact. It's going to impact real people. Like, is that what you're passionate about? Like, do you want to improve people's lives? Do you want to save people's lives in some applications? So if you really enjoy that and you're passionate about that, you're in the right thing, and you should keep doing that. And throughout your university term, you want to try and get involved in those things that really give you that sort of enjoyment. Like I've been doing a bunch of things for university, and it's like it never really feels like a burden or like something that I just don't want to do. It's something I'm passionate about, and it's something I really enjoy doing. And then you don't even notice that you're doing it. It kind of just becomes a part of your lifestyle, and sort of what shapes you and your career as you sort of go through. If you can get that industry experience in third year, I think that's huge. Like now that I've done a year-long co-op, but even if you can't, like just picking up projects on the side about things that align with your fourth year courses or what you want to do. Like if you want to do rehab engineering, like maybe go like 3D print some parts and try to make like a little exoskeleton or something. Just always, it always comes back to finding out what you really enjoy and what you find like fun in. And something that can be not fun, you find that fun, you're in the right place.
No, that's good advice. I'm glad because you're a prime example of what happens when somebody follows their passion and also like takes in the fact that you can be curious, you can step outside of your comfort zone, try new things. Because one thing I notice is every single time you spoke about something, it's always like, in my first year I did this. In first year, it's like the most daunting time of your life, and you're like you're going to innovation nights, you're going to all these conferences or like different things with your friends, and I'm glad that you had supportive friends who also came with you to do these things. And looking at you now, you've done an internship, you're doing glucose vision, you're going to be doing the biomedical innovation night, you're a Tetra president. And to somebody who's like looking at from the outside, they're like, how do I get into these things? But after they listen to this podcast, they'll be like, it's not that hard. You just need to get involved, you need to be comfortable with who you are, and you shouldn't question. If you're in biomed and you love it, then that's what it is. You just got to follow your passion, and you're a prime example of that, and I'm so glad I got to talk to you today.
It's been great meeting you too, Jay.
It was nice.
I really enjoy this. This was fun.
Yeah, so hopefully I'll get to see you on campus very soon, especially during the Biomedical Innovation Night. I would love to attend, even if it's online, and I would love once again to see a Glucose Vision little spotlight. I'm really happy that Yusuf let me interview you instead of him taking over. Thanks, Yusuf. But yeah, so it was really nice talking to you. You were probably one of the. I love your voice, by the way. It's very clear. It's very easy to listen to. There's times when I'd forget the question I had lined up just because I was just listening to you talk, and I feel like
it's like a personal thing.
No. Yeah, it's obviously I hate listening to my voice. When I go back and edit this, I'm probably gonna cry. But your voice,
you got like
it's
that
very,
radio voice, man.
That's because I have I think I just spend too much time on Discord. But I feel like your voice is really easy to listen to. You have a very natural leadership quality. I love listening to you. I love talking with you, and I'm just gonna say I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do in the future. So thank you for your time, Liam.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. It means a lot.
Okay, and BECU people and anybody else listening, all the biomedical engineers, all the other engineers, all the people at Rye listening to this, please make sure to check out what Liam's up to every once in a while. You'll hear about it on campus. And if you're interested in Tetra, make sure you check that out. You can also check out BECU. I don't know, I like BECU better, but Tetra president over here, so whatever. But thank you, Liam, for your time. Thank you, BECU listeners, for your time. And that's it for today. Thank you.